Hey everyone, welcome back to Knowledge Mondays, your go-to weekly series for quick and actionable networking advice. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Keith Bailey with Articulated Intelligence. Keith, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, Dana, I really appreciate the invitation, and it's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Great. So, our theme of the month of January is the elevator pitch. And Keith,
Mm.
yeah, my question for you, my first question of many is, what do you recommend someone includes in their elevator pitch?
I think one of the important things to include in your elevator pitch is the I work with statement. The I work with statement shows that this is your employment, this is your job, as opposed to saying I help or I partner with. Leaves things a little bit ambiguous. So when I tell people that I work with business professionals to help them become better communicators on the networking stage and the presentation stage, it shows that this is my full-time job. So I believe that the I work with statement is a really, really pivotal one to be able to showcase that this is what you do as a business professional.
Thank you. I love that statement. I've heard the same actually, the same thing from another speaking coach. That's really interesting actually.
Well, when we start hearing things from multiple people, that means that we're definitely on the right track. So thank you so much for that validation. I appreciate it.
Of course. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes people can make when delivering their elevator pitch?
Some of the biggest mistakes that people can make when delivering their elevator pitch is not having practiced saying their elevator pitch out loud before they say it out loud to another human. So, by what I mean by that is, in fact, I have a networking event that I'm going to this evening, and I have a very specific elevator pitch that I use, and I will practice saying that one out loud before I show up to the network event. So I've rehearsed it a couple times. I've warmed up my mouth because I feel that words take on a certain shape. Your mouth has to make a certain shape to make those words come out. There's also the judgment wheel that's spinning in our brains as well. That, as you're talking and, oh, I'm not saying this right, I'm failing right now. So to avoid that, I warm up before I go to the networking event by saying my pitch out loud. And that just gives me a couple reps. So when I show up, I'm warmed up and I'm ready to go.
I love it. I think that's really important. Do you like when you pitch, or when you practice it, are you looking at a script or do you just say it from memory?
I'm not looking at a script. I'm not saying it from like it's not. I don't have one that's memorized or like it's not rote, if you will. I
Mhm.
will say it slightly different ways. I usually practice with one of my business partners. We'll do just a little role playing. Okay, I'm going to this networking event. This is the audience. Will you help me just get warmed up? And I'll just practice with them out loud a couple times. And I give myself permission. I think this is very important. I give myself permission to say it differently every time. And what that does is it turns it into more of a conversation and a dialogue as opposed to you ask me what do I do and I just flip this switch and I turn into a robot and it's like I'm just speaking from this script and this is what I do into more of a dialogue and a conversation that feels more natural.
Interesting. So that was my next question. I was going to ask about whether you should tailor your elevator pitch depending on who you're talking to or keep it the same. Can you maybe expand more on why it could be beneficial to tailor your pitch depending on who you're talking to?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand your audience as a coach and also as a professional speaker. The one thing that I know to be true, and I know a lot of things to be true, but this one is pivotal, is that it's as a speaker, it's never about you. It's always about your audience. So understanding who your audience is. And with that, one of the elements that I bring into this dialogue and conversation that I'm having is I like to ask a clarifying question. So like one of the clarifying questions is on a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you really love networking? And the person's like, oh my God, I dread it the most. Well, why do you dread networking so much? Well, my boss makes me do it. I don't get fulfillment out of it. I never feel this. And what is happening here is I'm getting information, understanding where you're coming from. Because if somebody says they hate it, my pitch is going to be slightly different as if somebody's like, oh my God, I love it the most. Like I wake up in the mornings and I look forward to networking, which by the way, nobody says that.
Yeah.
But by asking a clarifying question, I have a chance to understand and get a temperature of that person. So when I step into my pitch of explaining who I work with, it allows me just to personalize it a bit more. Right? It allows me to come up like, I really, let's say somebody's like, I really struggle with networking before I get there. Like my mindset is just like, ah, but once I get into it, I get warmed up. Like I'm great. It's like, oh, that's fantastic. In fact, what you're talking about is a lot what I work with. Is I work with business professionals on networking as a strategy. And one of the things you should take into consideration, just to think about, is when it comes to mindset, is having a mantra. Have you ever had a mantra before? Like I've never had a mantra. Now we're having a dialogue and a conversation as opposed to just
Hmm.
name, rank, serial number, right? I'm making it, I'm doing my best to turn this into a dialogue and a conversation. And then I think something that's really important is in order to get, you have to give. So I'll give a piece of advice. Like, hey, have you ever considered this?
I love that. And I think it's important, yeah, to givers gain. So I love that you guys give. So you mentioned that you asked clarifying questions. So it sounds like you do this before you give your elevator pitch. So how would you respond? Someone's, is saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about themselves and they're like, okay, Keith, what do you do? Do you ask the clarifying question first?
Yeah, and the way that I tee that up is as opposed to just me telling you what I do. Would you be open if I asked you just an open-ended question that really ties into what I do? Nobody ever says no. Everybody's like, yeah, because there's curiosity that I'm creating. Right? As opposed to me just giving you my name, rank, and serial number. Would you be okay if I ask you a clarifying question? Just come over and say it. They're like, yeah, sure. Awesome. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you love networking? And that always gets somebody to give an open and honest answer. Like it's a 1. But really, you feeling a 1 right now? I'm feeling more of a 3 right now because the conversation we're having,
Maybe
and I
maybe
just
one
I
with
just
you. No, just kidding.
yeah. uh, you know what? One of the things that's really helped me out with networking, Dana, I haven't really shared this very much. Um, Things changed for me when I started taking improv. Take improv classes. Go take a 101 improv class. Because what it teaches you is the importance of the relationship and a thing known as giving and taking focus. And it's this gift that you're passing back and forth. What's difficult about when somebody asks you what do you do is that this focuses the spotlight's just directly on you, and oftentimes we struggle, we short circuit. When we pivot and ask a clarifying question, we actually put the focus back on the other person and get them to give an open and honest answer that gives us information that we can then take and move the conversation forward. Because that's really what we're looking at. I don't just want to say what it is that I do and deliver my pitch and be done with it. What I'm really looking for is a dialogue and a conversation. So I learned so much about that and continue to practice it actually through improv.
Hmm. That's really interesting. I love improv. I've done it a few times, but I want to get back into it because I think I have a really good sense of humor as well. So
Yeah.
that's definitely something to focus on. So
Mhm.
how can you tell if your pitch is resonating with someone? Any pointers or like body language to look for?
I appreciate this question. Really, it's you're looking for how the person responds. I once got into my pitch, and in the middle of the person just turned around and started having a conversation with somebody else. I was like,
Oh,
okay, that's not working. Um, so really, the long and short of it is, I just see how the person responds, and I also I don't I don't put so many stakes in the ground. Like, we have to stay on what I'm talking about. If we want to have a natural conversation to let it flow in another direction, I'm completely open to that. So if somebody doesn't respond well to or doesn't resonate with what I'm speaking to, that's totally a-okay. I'm completely fine with allowing the conversation to move into another direction. Because sometimes when I tell people that I'm a professional speaker and networking coach, they feel like that they're suddenly in the spotlight, and then they don't know what to do with their hands.
they
So if
feel,
I
sorry to interrupt, but do they feel sometimes like you're judging their networking skills?
Yeah, yeah, it's like if you're having a conversation with a dentist and you don't have great teeth, and you're suddenly like, oh my God. Like, it's the same thing that happens. So,
Yeah.
which is why I asked the open-ended question. On a scale of 1 to 5. 1 to 5 is a really easy scale to work with. So if you're let's say you're in real estate, or your investments, or you're a banker, or you're a lawyer, or like all these, that there's so many people out there that do the same thing that you do. By just If you just lead with, like, I'm a financial planner, it's what's going to happen 9 times out of 10 is somebody's going to think, I already have one, I don't need one, and they shut down. And what the hard part with that is where do we go from there? Which is why I like asking the clarifying question. In fact, I had a conversation with a gentleman. I was at a speed networking event, and he said to me, he's like, "My name is Sam. I'm a financial planner. What do you do?" And I was like, "Hold on, Sam. Before I tell you what I do, why are you a financial planner?" And he tells me this incredible story. I was like, "Okay, next time you go networking, I encourage you to try this. Is ask this clarifying question, and then through that, you're able to tell your story, because it's your story of why you do what you do that's most important." And through that, like, I shared with them, I was like, the clarifying question you can ask is, do you know the number one reason why police are called to a domestic dispute? Because he used to be a police officer. And he's like, it's because of a lack of money. Well, I was working my financial planner. I figured out that I can really help people by becoming a financial planner. So I got my Series 7. I became a financial planner, and now I help people with financial literacy and financial freedom. Right? That story is so much more powerful than just name, rank, serial number. So having that clarifying question tease things up for you to be able to tell your story of why you do what you do, which is, I think, is even more powerful than the I work with this type of population to help them with these types of outcomes. That's something that comes at the end of your story as to why do you do what you do.
Very impactful what you said. So to reiterate, can you just give someone some advice on how to find a clarifying question that works for their business?
Mhm. Yeah. Actually, I would use your iterative partner AI. Use your chat GPT tool, and have a conversation with it. Is, hey, this is my job. This is what I do. This is why I do what I do. What are 5 kinds of clarifying questions that I could ask somebody that allows me to spark a conversation that really gets into a dialogue where I get to learn more about them? And your iterative AI partner will give you 5 things. And if you don't like those fives, then you can ask it for another 5 and another 5, and continue to iterate with that. So utilizing your AI partner is a great way to, one, also work on your clarifying statement, right? Which is, the clarifying statement is the I work with. So getting into your AI partner and say, hey, this is what I do. What help me come up with a clarifying statement of who it is that I work with. And it'll just, we know the AI partners, they never tire.
Yeah, unlike us.
Yeah. We fatigue. We fatigue, which is why when it comes to networking, is have a goal and a plan. And when you achieve it, you
Yep, I agree.
know.
So I know you touched on this a little bit about, sometimes when you're giving your elevator pitch and it like doesn't really resonate with someone. Like,
Hmm?
do you have any advice on what to do if it's not resonating? Do you ask another clarifying question or like a thought-provoking question after that? Or do you like turn the focus around back on them? How do you typically handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dana. What I tend to do, even if it does resonate, I tend to take focus off me and put it back onto the other person, and I just lean in with a with the curiosity question that is more about them and what they do. Usually someone to give me their name, rank, serial number. This is who I this is the company I work for. This is what I do, and I will ask the why question, like why do you do this? Like what is it about your job that you really love the most? Like what really fulfills you? And I'll put attention back onto them again, because the objective here in networking is to get to know each other. So to spend too much time just on yourself is challenging, right?
Mhm.
Enough about me. Let's talk about me. That's how I feel. And I tend to identify as an extroverted introvert, meaning that I like both situations, but when I get stressed out, I lean more towards extroverted and I talk a lot, kind of like now. And I'm aware of that. I'm aware that I'm talking. So what I really want to do, Dane, is I want to pivot. I want to ask you questions. So something that I do in networking events is I will be conscious of how much I'm speaking and then do my best to turn the attention back to them again. Because I know that the opportunity to circle back around and have a specific ask is coming as a part of my networking strategy, which is comes up in the wrap up or the exit question.
Got it. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure that's going to be very helpful to our viewers. So, my last question for you, what are your top three networking tips for 2026?
Top three networking tips for 2026.
In
It's
general, it doesn't
actually
have to be
it,
about the elevator pitch.
yeah. I appreciate that. They're actually um they're the same as 2025. There's within networking, there's really three primary algorithms, and it's to be efficient at all three of them. And they are this. Number one, first and foremost, nurture your network. You have a network, reach out to them. Even if it is a text message that says thinking of you when you do think of them, or have a list of people that you just regularly reach out to. Because we think that oftentimes that with networking, we need to keep bringing new people into our network. That's not networking. Networking is building the relationships you already have. So to have a plan where you're regularly reaching out to people in your network with gratitude, with offering them other connections to see how it is that they're doing, to help them, right? Is it's Mahatma Gandhi. In order to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So by reaching out to people in your network, say, "How you doing? What can I do to support you?" It will come back around again. So that's number one: nurture your network. The second one is the planning and preparing. That is, from an algorithm standpoint, is so critical. Like if you're going to a networking event, like the one that we're going to this evening, I know the event organizer. I've already reached out to him today to let him know personally that I'm excited to come there and to be able to have a chance to connect with him. That's an intentional thing that I do because it makes showing up to that networking event a lot easier because I have purpose. I'm showing up there and that person knows that I want to speak with them. Also, as the event organizer, they're excited to hear that that people are coming. And then the last one is on the engaging side. And for that one, the objective that I have is, gosh, who said this? Um, the name eludes me at the moment, but it is in order to be interesting, be interested. So with that is in the engagement part is to genuinely be interested in other people and not to be so interested in yourself. Because we know when we meet people that are overly interested in themselves, it's a bit off-putting. And they're not as much fun to talk to as people who are genuinely interested in other people. So those would be my top three.
Thank you so much, Keith, for
Yeah.
your time. If folks want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me. Our website is articulated-intelligence.com. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn at Keith M. J. Bailey. And if you want to talk about anything networking or presentation skills forward, I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Great. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining our episode. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give us a follow, like, and share to your feed to help bring more awareness to Knowledge Mondays. Wishing everyone a great 2026. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.